I shared a lifetime of love with Jiyu Hanjong. After rebirth, he avoided every encounter with me. When I was pushed into the koi pond and cried for help, he sat under the crepe myrtle tree playing his qin. While I copied scriptures in the Empress Dowager's palace, he went to play chess with the emperor. In short, wherever I am, his presence is nowhere to be seen. I finally understood. He wanted to live a different life, one without me. Lu Jinchao, wiping away my tears. I agreed to the marriage proposal from the Ruyang prince's household. One day, snow fell in the capital, and the prince consort accompanied his princess in building a snowman, sparking envy throughout the palace. The usually composed and dignified minister Jiyu happened to pass by but slipped on the jade steps, looking utterly disheveled. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. The noble ladies all said that I, Lu Jinchao, was the happiest young lady in all of Bianjing. My Lu family is bathed in glory. Father is a highly decorated general with illustrious military achievements. Mother is the princess consort most beloved by the Empress Dowager. And then there's my husband. Every time my husband Jiyu Hanjong is mentioned, all the young ladies in Bianjing can't help but gasp in awe, or envy, or admiration. Jiyu Hanjong was born into a family of renowned scholars. The first in this dynasty to achieve the top honors in 3 consecutive imperial examinations, rising to the position of Chief Grand Secretary. Still fresh in memory is the image of the young man in splendid attire, riding a spirited horse, his youthful arrogance drawing the attention of countless admirers, yet his eyes were only for me, never for anyone else. By the grace of the emperor's bestowed marriage, I married Jiyu Hanjong at the age of 15. From then on, I transformed from my parents' pampered darling raised in a honey jar into Jiyu Hanjong's cherished sweetheart held in his palm. He would play the qin for me under the moonlight and make my favorite glutinous rice cakes. A mere frown from me would make him immediately set aside official duties, holding me gently while coaxing. What's wrong, Jinchao? Who made you angry again? And with just a few words from him, my heart melted, feeling so soft that even the greatest disaster couldn't scare me. And so, Jiyu Hanjong and I loved each other for a lifetime. There was never another woman by his side. On my deathbed, I lay breathless, while his hair had turned silver. My dear Jiyu, I must leave this world before you. If there is another life, I will come to find you sooner. I held his hand, and a scalding teardrop fell onto the back of my hand. His eyes reddened, and he choked out a promise. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn at the age of 15, this year. I was still the eldest daughter of the Lu family. Meanwhile, Jiyu Hanjong had taken up his post as a compiler in the Hanlin Academy, becoming a close confidant of the emperor. I counted the days on my fingers. There was still a long time before our first encounter. But I can't wait any longer. I want to see Jiyu Hanjong sooner, to marry him early and become his wife. So I told my parents that I already have someone in my heart. Originally, my parents wanted to introduce me to the heir of the Ruyang prince's household, but after hearing this, they dropped the matter. I decided to take the initiative to find him and bring him to meet my parents, but I never imagined that every reunion with Jiyu Hanjong in this lifetime would be so difficult. The first time, I waited at the gate of the Hanlin Academy. In my arms, I held the yellow peaches that Jiyu Hanjong loved to eat the most, golden and plump, sweet and juicy. I picked them myself in the imperial garden. When the scholars finished their lectures, they spotted me at a glance and gathered around to exchange greetings. Overwhelmed by the crowd, I finally caught sight of Jiyu Hanjong appearing and excitedly raised my hand. Yet, across the sea of people, he merely bowed to me with a salute, showing not a trace of hesitation before turning to leave. I was slightly taken aback as the entire basket of yellow peaches ended up in his colleague's stomach. The second time, I attended the poetry gathering I disliked the most. Jiyu Hanjong, who was always the most punctual, arrived half an hour late, and he sat in the spot farthest from me. As the guests were enjoying the flowing cup game, I pretended to casually move closer to him. Just as my fingers barely touched the hem of Jiyu Hanjong's robe, he suddenly stood up and announced to everyone, "The cats in my residence have fallen ill, and I'm quite worried. I must take my leave now, please. Enjoy yourselves." The crowd burst into laughter. I stared blankly at his retreating figure, my heart aching as if soaked in half a lemon. The third time, the fourth time, every time I took the initiative to approach, all I received was Jiyu Hanjong's indifferent back, as if deliberately avoiding me. I thought, perhaps it was the heavens playing tricks on me, that only by meeting him as I did in my past life could we continue our predestined bond. So I had no choice but to suppress my inner turmoil, confining myself to the mansion until the day I was destined to meet Jiyu Hanjong in my previous life. That day was none other than the birthday of the 9th princess. After breakfast, Mother received an invitation from the Empress and told me with a smile, The ninth princess was in such high spirits that she opened her private treasury to give gifts, ensuring every lady at the banquet received a share. Strange, in my past life, the ninth princess had an extremely unpleasant birthday. Quarreling with me and pushing me into the koi pond, Ji Hanjong happened to pass by and saved me, marking our first encounter. What happened? It's because the fourth princess has recovered from her illness. Do you know Ji Hanjong? He's the top scholar who has recently gained the emperor's favor. He invited a divine physician from Taiping Mountain to treat the fourth princess. She no longer vomits blood in the mornings, and the empress and the ninth princess are overjoyed, startled. I pricked my finger with the embroidery needle in my hand. The pain pierced straight to the heart. The fourth princess that mother mentioned must be Xiao Yuzhen. Xiao Yuzhen was born with a frail constitution, suffering from a congenital weakness that left her perpetually ill, barely clinging to life with daily doses of medicinal broth. In her past life, it was during the ninth princess's birthday banquet that Xiao Yuzhen coughed up blood and fainted, never to wake again. But in this life, Xiao Yuzhen's illness was actually cured. It was Ji Hanjong who invited the divine physician for her. My mind was buzzing. Naturally, I was happy for Xiao Yuzhen that she didn't have to perish young like in her previous life, but I distinctly remember, in the 3rd year of my marriage to Ji Hanjong, he took me for an outing to Taiping Mountain. On the way, I caught a chill and developed a high fever that wouldn't subside. Ji Hanjong was beside himself with worry, but fortunately, he knew of a miracle-working doctor who lived in seclusion deep in the mountains. He stayed by the bedside to personally feed me medicine, or I would have been burned alive by the fever. The miraculous doctor I only met 3 years later, Ji Hanjong, could now be summoned to treat the fourth princess. Could it be that Ji Hanjong has also been reborn? My heart skipped a beat. Those figures that turn away from me each time rise and fall in the depths of my eyes. If he has been reborn, why does he avoid every encounter with me? Why doesn't he come to me on his own? With a heart full of grievances and confusion, I entered the palace, the same small bridge over flowing water, the same koi pond. Footsteps sounded from behind. Has the eldest daughter of the Liu family come personally to congratulate this princess on her birthday? It was the ninth princess's mocking laughter. I've never gotten along with her. Otherwise we wouldn't have ended up fighting by the lotus pond. Forget it. With fourth sister's recovery, this princess is in a good mood today and won't stoop to argue with a little girl like you. I've left you a pomegranate blossom gold hairpin. Go fetch it from the storeroom yourself. The ninth princess adjusted the tassels at her temples, her demeanor dripping with arrogance. After a long silence, I finally spoke. My voice hoarse. Was the divine physician Ji Hanjong invited for the fourth princess surnamed Luo? The ninth princess was startled. How did you know? I don't recall the empress mother mentioning it to your mother. Does divine physician Luo have a large black mole on his face? Have you met him? That can't be right. I remember brother Ji brought Dr. Luo from the deep mountains. How could you, who's never left the capital, know him? The ninth princess looked at me curiously. As if I were some kind of mind-reading mystic, I only felt darkness clouding my vision. No way, it probably isn't that Ji Hanjong has also been reborn. Perhaps he accidentally met the miraculous Dr. Luo, or maybe he heard about it from someone else. Otherwise, since he loved me so much, why wouldn't he come looking for me after being reborn? I kept trying to convince myself in my heart and, in my desperation, grabbed onto the ninth princess's sleeve. I was about to ask more, but she grew angry. Amid the pushing and shoving, she shoved me into the koi pond once again. With a loud splash, dozens of colorful koi fish scattered in fright. The icy pond water rushed into my throat as my body struggled and kept sinking deeper. The ninth princess stamped her foot in frustration. Hey, I don't have time to argue with you. Ji Hanjong is playing the qin for fourth sister, and I want to go listen too. My heart was struck with a heavy blow. From afar, the tree was covered in vibrant crepe myrtle blossoms, resembling a colorful cloud. The sound of the qin flowed gently, mingled with a woman's tender and radiant laughter. It was the very melody I had listened to all my life. The woman's laughter suddenly ceased as she asked with concern, "Did someone fall into the water, my dear? Let's go and see." The sound of the zither abruptly ceased, and Ji Hanjong's voice, pure and untainted by any impurity, came through. "Princess, I do not know how to swim. I fear I would be of no use." The woman's voice paused briefly before continuing with a light laugh. "Very well, Lord Ji. Continue playing the zither. The palace attendants will handle the rescue." Ji Hanjong's fingers plucked the strings once more, the sound coiling around my heart like silk threads, tightening with each note. My entire body trembled, limbs utterly powerless as the pond water mercilessly swallowed my form. In this lifetime, Ji Hanjong would not pass by the koi pond, would not come to save me again. Just as the water choked me into suffocation, A figure in dark robes pulled me from the pond's edge, opening my eyes again. Mother wiped the tears from the corners of my eyes and sighed. The fourth princess's condition has improved. The Empress Dowager had barely relaxed for 2 days when you and the ninth princess started causing trouble, making her so angry she skipped dinner. Mother said the Empress Dowager had already punished the ninth princess by making her kneel in Baohua Hall, and as for me, I was to enter the palace to copy scriptures. Helpless, I could only drag myself out of bed to comb my hair and wash my face. I still remember. This was my second encounter with Jiyu Hanzhong in my past life. The Empress Dowager punished me by making me copy scriptures in the palace, and it just so happened that Jiyu Hanzhong came to deliver 2 pieces of hui ink to her. He saw that my hands were sore from copying scriptures, and my face was smeared with ink, making me look like a little kitten. Don't move, or you'll turn into a little tiger. Jiyu Hanzhong held a faint smile at the corner of his lips as he took the brush from my hand, carefully copying for me. The flickering oil lamp cast shimmering reflections in his eyes. His handwriting was truly beautiful, I thought, resting my chin on the corner of the table as I watched. Only the phrase graceful as a startled swan could begin to describe it, but this time, I copied all night until my wrist nearly broke, yet I still didn't catch a glimpse of Jiyu Hanzhong. The Empress Dowager told me while sipping tea, no sign of any Huiju ink, but Jiyu Hanzhong somehow got his hands on a century-old chess manual and was playing with the emperor. Outside, a thunderclap boomed, and the rain poured down in torrents. The wolf hairbrush snapped in two with a crisp sound. Ignoring the Empress Dowager's attempts to stop me, I chased after him all the way to the palace gates. Through the curtain of pouring rain, I saw Jiyu Hanzhong boarding the carriage with my own eyes. Jiyu Hanzhong, I know you've been reborn, why didn't you come find me? I shouted while chasing after the carriage. The rain soaked through my thin clothes, but Jiyu Hanzhong seemed not to hear my voice. The carriage grew farther and farther away, until it was nothing but a blur in the rainy mist. I walked home in the rain, utterly dejected. Father saw me looking like a drowned rat and ordered the maid to bring ginger soup. He spoke to me as if making casual conversation. Master Jiyu solved the corruption case in Lingju, and His Majesty has promoted him to Vice Minister of Revenue. The Lingju corruption case wasn't completely resolved until the 8th year of my marriage to Jiyu Hanzhong. Why was he in such a hurry? His Majesty also asked Jiyu Hanzhong what reward he desired. I took a sip of ginger soup, my heart clenched tightly. At last, I heard the words I least wanted to hear from my father's mouth. None of the court officials expected that the only thing Jiyu Hanzhong desired was the fourth princess, Xiao Yuzhen. I see, finally, I understood. Jiyu Hanzhong had already been reborn. He deliberately chose not to come looking for me. He wanted to live a different life. In this life, there would no longer be me, Lu Jinjiao, but another woman instead. Father didn't notice my nearly pale face and continued to ramble. They do seem well matched. Didn't you say you already had someone in your heart? Why haven't you brought them to meet your mother and me yet? Bianjing was on the verge of autumn, and the rain carried a chill that seeped through the skin into the body. Ignoring my father's exclamation, I leaned on the table and vomited the ginger soup I had just swallowed. Numerous maids and old women rushed over in alarm, asking if I was ill. I weakly waved my hand, my heart aching too much to speak. Jiyu Hanzhong, in this lifetime, you broke your promise. This illness struck with overwhelming force. It took me several months of struggle to fully recover. The first sentence was to ask my parents, is there still hope for my marriage to the heir of the Ruyang prince's household? Father was surprised and asked what about the one I loved. I brushed it off with a few words. It's not like some quack remedy. Since Jiyu Hanzhong broke his promise, there's no need for me to cling to him shamelessly. You might as well marry your noble lady, and I'll wed my ideal husband. Seeing me so worried, Mother said, the Prince of Ruyang has long resided in Jiangju, according to my relatives there. Although the heir is among the most capable of the nobility, he is also a genuine playboy. I worry that you, having been pampered since childhood, might not understand the duties of a wife and suffer after marriage. I suddenly remembered years ago when my father led troops into battle, fell into an enemy trap, and was saved by the Prince of Ruyang and his heir. Considering this debt of gratitude, even if he never comes home after marriage, it would be bearable, so I smiled faintly. It's fine. Even if we just respect each other like guests after marriage, I'm willing. Father immediately sent a letter to the Prince of Ruyang's residence. The prince replied that it would be the prince's fortune to marry a daughter of the Lu family, and the wedding would take place 7 days later upon their return to the capital. 7 days, my dowry is all prepared. Yet still there's no sign of Prince Ruyang. Meanwhile, news of Jiyu Hanzhong's impending marriage to the fourth princess has spread throughout Bianjing. Since Xiao Yuzhen's health improved, she has developed a fondness for playing polo. The emperor specially changed the annual autumn hunt into a polo tournament for her. Of course, Ji Hanjong was also there. When I arrived fashionably late, I could see Ji Hanjong sitting with Xiao Yuzhen in the most prominent spot of the entire court. He was dressed in a pale green silk robe. With sharp eyebrows and starry eyes, his skin fairer than snow, truly the epitome of noble elegance in the capital. Xiao Yuzhen was also dressed charmingly, masking much of her sickly pallor as she leaned into his embrace, whispering something close to his face. Both of their cheeks were flushed red. After Xiao Yuzhen finished the medicine, her brows furrowed from the bitterness, and Ji Hanjong promptly took out the glutinous rice cakes he had prepared earlier. With a smile in the corners of his eyes, he watched as Xiao Yuzhen ate them bite by bite, just as he had done for me in our past life. All the noble ladies in the room couldn't help but cast envious glances at them. Xiao Yuzhen also felt a bit embarrassed and tugged at Ji Hanjong's sleeve. "I'm going to play polo now. I'll eat the rest of the mochi when I return to the palace." As soon as the words fell, I walked up to them expressionlessly and leaped onto the horse. The once vibrant and lively polo field suddenly fell into silence. Xiao Yuzhen was taken aback for a moment, then forced a smile and said, "I never expected to have the honor of competing against Miss Lu in the first polo match. Truly a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. When it comes to the best female polo player in all of Bianjing, if I claim second place, no one would dare claim first." I curled the corner of my lips and nodded at her politely, as I had expected. That figure in the color of sky and water indeed stepped forward. Princess Ji Hanjong, who had been avoiding me like the plague since my rebirth, actually walked over to Xiao Yuzhen with a tense expression and took her hand, their fingers intertwined tightly. Xiao Yuzhen's initially tense expression visibly relaxed a great deal. Indeed, most of my polo skills were taught to me by Ji Hanjong after we married. He knows how formidable I am. He was afraid Xiao Yuzhen couldn't defeat me. "Don't worry. With me here, we won't lose." Ji Hanjong mounted his horse, standing against me for the first time. His movement revealed the fear in my teammates beside me. In polo, I was the best among women, and he was undoubtedly the best among men. In our past life, as a couple, we were invincible on the polo fields of Bianjing. Gripping the reins tightly, I glanced at the empty space behind me and sneered, "What's the matter? Are you three going to gang up on me alone?" The ninth princess mounted her horse and looked at me triumphantly. "You bullied my fourth sister when she was ill, and now you won't let us get even." The entire polo field was watching me become the laughingstock. The reins were nearly cutting bloody marks into my palms. Suddenly, a voice filled with laughter rang out behind me. "Let me do it." I turned around to see a young, handsome nobleman dressed in black robes, whose looks were no less striking than Ji Hanjong's. "May I ask who you are?" The man smiled slightly as he stared at me. "Miss Lu may call me Aceway." Tall and slender, with an unusual bone structure, yet quite robust. I averted my scrutinizing gaze. Fine, he would do. I mounted the horse alongside this Asui, followed by a few lackeys to make up the numbers. With the sound of the gong and drum, I spurred my horse forward, taking the lead. The polo field erupted into fierce competition in an instant. Ji Hanjong may indeed surpass me in technical skills, but burdened with 2 deadweights, even the cleverest housewife can't cook without rice. Meanwhile, I had long been simmering with pent-up energy, growing fiercer with each battle, scoring several consecutive shots, especially this Aceway following behind me, darting around like lightning, so fast you couldn't even catch a glimpse of his shadow. Before long, Ji Hanjong was drenched in sweat from exhaustion, while Xiao Yuzhen's lips turned pale with tension, as I hesitated whether to ease up. The ninth princess rode past me and suddenly grabbed my reins. She spoke with a threatening tone. "Do you think fourth sister doesn't know you've been pestering Minister Ji lately, first at the Hanlin Academy, and now even chasing him to Father Emperor's palace? Have you no shame?" The startled horse nearly threw me off. Fortunately, Aceway came from behind and gave me a hand. He narrowed his eyes, as if issuing a warning. "Your Highness, let's keep it civil, not martial." The ninth princess seemed to recognize him, giving a light scoff before going to catch the ball. A sudden surge of anger rose within me. I spurred my horse forward, cutting her off, and with a swift swing of my stick, I struck the ball hard, hitting the bullseye. The match ended. With Aceway's help, I achieved a great score of 7-5. The ninth princess was nearly driven to tears with rage. Ji Hanjong looked embarrassed when he suddenly caught sight of Xiao Yuzhen on horseback, her face deathly pale. "Yuzhen." Xiao Yuzhen's eyes closed, her frail body swaying unsteadily before she toppled from the horse. I was closest to her and, startled, moved to catch her. Ji Hanjong's face changed drastically, and without hesitation, he jumped off his horse, cushioning Xiao Yuzhen beneath him. With a dull thud, Ji Hanjong winced in pain, his brows furrowing tightly. He still shielded the unconscious Xiao Yuzhen. "Someone, Go check on the princess first. I remember in my past life, I only mentioned Xiao Yuzhen once to Jiyu Hanzhong. It was after recovering from illness on Taiping Mountain, watching the divine physician Luo tending to medicinal herbs in the courtyard. I sighed to Jiyu Hanzhong and said, if only this divine healer had been here back then, the fourth princess wouldn't have passed away so young, at that time. Jiyu Hanzhong couldn't even steady a small medicine bowl, spilling the entire dose onto my quilt. The medicine bowl shattered with a clatter, and he abruptly stood up, his brows furrowed with intense emotion. Jin Jiao, I'll brew another bowl for you. The medicine that should have been delivered in 2 hours took him 4 hours to bring. It wasn't until much later that I learned no one in the entire capital dared to marry the fourth princess, who was too ill to even straighten her back. Only Jiyu Hanzhong had told the emperor that he was willing, yet on the very day he met me, she could no longer live, seeing that this polo match was no longer interesting to continue. Taking advantage of the moment when Jiyu Hanzhong went to fetch the medicine, I blocked his path, perhaps blaming me for harming Xiao Yuzhen. His handsome face was icy cold as he tried to brush past me. I quietly remarked, if you keep avoiding me, I'll go straight to the fourth princess and tell her you have a thumb-sized birthmark on your inner thigh. How about that? Jiyu Hanzhong's figure froze instantly. As expected, he cared most about Xiao Yuzhen. After all, we were husband and wife in a past life. Since you've been reborn, why avoid me? Why keep it from me? A mocking smile played at the corners of my lips. Jiyu Hanzhong took a deep breath, turned around, and gazed at me for a long time. Miss Lu, choose your words carefully. I presume you've heard about my impending marriage to the fourth princess. He didn't refute my words. Instead, he hastily avoided suspicion, eager to sever ties with me, his expression brimming with detachment. If Miss Lu wishes to marry, I can introduce colleagues of comparable status to the Lu family, men who would be suitable matches for the young lady. His words made it seem as though I, the esteemed eldest daughter of the Lu family, had become some kind of hot potato. He feared I would cling to him as desperately as I had when I first reincarnated, disrupting his destined bond with Xiao Yuzhen. I let out a cold snort, my eyes filled with disdain. Loyalty is often found among butchers, while betrayal comes from scholars. The man you, Jiyu Hanzhong, introduced to me, isn't he just as untrustworthy as you? Jiyu Hanzhong's expression darkened, his refined upbringing prevented him from arguing with me, but just as he was about to leave, I suddenly spoke again. Congratulations to you too. Jiyu Hanzhong stared at me in astonishment, while I smiled leisurely. I'm getting married too. A fallen leaf drifted lightly onto Jiyu Hanzhong's shoulder. He straightened his back slightly, his overly calm expression revealing no emotion. His knuckled fingers couldn't help but curl up. I wonder which family's young master is so fortunate. I hesitated a little. In the blink of an eye, I saw Asui and a few young masters walking towards us. Recalling his figure fighting alongside me on the court, an inexplicable surge of courage welled up within me. I flashed a radiant smile at Jiyu Hanzhong. He is the heir of the Ruyang prince's estate, younger than you, nobler than you, and with a brighter future. A faint crack appeared on Jiyu Hanzhong's porcelain-like, handsome face. In the end, we parted on bad terms. Instead, it was Asui who heard and came up, smiling at me. Blushing, I took out a gold ingot from my pocket and tossed it to him. Thanks for backing me up in the game today. This is for you to buy some drinks. Aceway caught it with one hand, bowed to me, a touch of warmth coloring the corners of her eyes. You're too kind, Miss Lu. The Prince of Ruyang finally arrived in the capital on the evening of the 7th day. He sent a full 128 betrothal gifts to my residence, startling me. Marrying a princess couldn't be better than this. The prince and his wife seemed very easy to get along with. And they shared old friendships with my parents, chatting happily together. General Lu, rest assured, although Ziying can be a bit mischievous, now that he's married, he will learn how to be a good husband and father. I sat behind the screen listening, embroidering a wedding handkerchief in my hands, my heart in turmoil. Will I and the heir Pei Ziying spend our lives seemingly as happily as Jiyu Hanzhong did? Would he, like Jiyu Hanzhong, agree to the marriage on the surface while harboring an unattainable white moonlight in his heart? On the wedding day, I bid farewell to my parents, leaving the Lu residence with a round fan covering my face. Pei Ziying came to fetch the bride, riding a tall horse. I looked up curiously. His face was backlit, making it hard to see clearly. Then I heard a familiar laugh. My lady, the guests are growing impatient. In a daze, I was helped into the bridal sedan chair by him and arrived at the Ruyang prince's residence. Drums and gongs resound to the heavens, with light songs and graceful dances. The mansion was bustling with excitement. As nearly every notable figure in the capital had arrived, I tightened my grip on the fan handle. Even spotting Jiyu Hanzhong among the guests, he sat beside the 9th princess. his mind clearly elsewhere, oblivious to her words. Yo. Ji Hanjong truly lives up to his reputation as a modest gentleman. Even as an ex-husband, he's considerate enough to personally come congratulate his former wife. The princess was somewhat annoyed. Brother-in-law, fourth sister isn't feeling well, which is why she asked you to accompany me to the Ruyang prince's wedding banquet. Why aren't you paying any attention to me? Ji Hanjong suddenly turned around, his gaze fixed directly on me, deep within his pupils. It seemed as if a cluster of dark flames was burning. So intense that my heart pounded like a drum. Pretending not to have seen anything, I walked with firm steps to perform the wedding ceremony and share the nuptial cup with my nominal husband. From this day forward, my life and that of Lu Jinchao from my past existence would diverge onto two entirely different paths. Entering the bridal chamber, a fair finger parted the round fan, my eyes widened abruptly. Why is it you, Aceway? Oh no, Pei Ziying stared at me, the corners of his lips curling slightly. It couldn't be anyone but me. Suddenly, I remembered how I had brandished my polo mallet triumphantly in front of him during the match, and all those angry words I had said to Ji Hanjong. He had heard every single one of them. You knew I was your fiancé all along. Why didn't you tell me sooner? My face flushed red with anger, and I grabbed the fan to hurl it at his face. He caught it just as effortlessly as he had caught that gold ingot. His fingers tracing the mandarin ducks and butterflies I had embroidered on the fan's surface, his eyes darkening. A servant knocked at the door outside. Young master, Minister Gu is drunk, he's kissing anyone he grabs, and even scared the ninth princess to tears. You'd better go take a look. I furrowed my brow. Ji Hanjong had always abstained from alcohol and would never lose his composure or harm others under its influence. Pei Ziying let out an "oh" and gently pinched my cheek. Feel free to wander around the estate, I'll come back in the evening. I touch my cheek, turn away angrily with a huff. Pei Ziying walks away with a chuckle. Honestly, no wonder even his father the king calls him mischievous. The lively sounds of drinking and merriment came from the front hall. I dismissed the maids and servants, strolling alone in the garden. In the courtyard, a beauty plum tree had blossomed. The delicate pink flowers, along with the shape of their petals, reminded me of Pei Ziying's perpetually smiling eyes. I'm annoyed at myself for being so lovesick, when suddenly someone grabbed my arm. Jin Zhao, a strong smell of alcohol hit me, and I looked up in alarm, meeting a pair of eyes burning with dark fire. Oh, it's you, Ji Hanjong. I wanted to shake off his hand, but then I saw him swallow hard and say in a deep voice, Jinchao, let's elope. I could hardly believe my ears. What did you say? Ji Hanjong was truly drunk, his face was flushed, his eyes dazed, and his speech slightly slurred. At first, when I heard you were going to marry the heir of the Ruyang prince's household, I thought it was highly inappropriate. Later, I learned from my colleagues in Jiangju that this heir is one of the most notorious playboys, infamous throughout the south. He won't treat you well. I had heard these rumors before my marriage, and now he was bringing them up to my face. Minister Gu, please choose your words carefully. A person's character can only be known through interaction, not by listening to rumors. Jinchao, I'm genuinely concerned. I mercilessly cut him off. Concerned about what? And in what capacity are you concerned? Ji Hanjong felt a moment of panic. Yes, it's already the second life. He was no longer the husband who would hold me in his arms and ask why I was unhappy again. Jin Zhao, I've wronged you. Ji Hanjong truly found courage in liquor. If you're willing to come with me, I can also request the emperor to annul the engagement. I'll bear all the blame in the future, and we can be a loving couple for life, just like in our past life. How about that? My heart gave a sudden wrench, and I immediately shook off his hand. Ji Hanjong, you clearly have been reborn, yet you never told me, always avoiding me, busy showering attention on another woman, making me chase after you like a fool, waiting for you in the wind and rain. Until the whole of Bianjing thought I was a shameless woman, nearly disgracing my Lu family's name. Ji Hanjong snapped out of his daze and stepped forward to embrace me, but I resolutely pushed his hand away. You were the one who promised to be reborn and marry me again, the one who broke your word, and the one who now wants to wed another. How dare you think that I, the esteemed eldest daughter of the Lu family, would forsake a splendid marriage to accept a man whose heart belongs to another? Word by word, each one rings with conviction. Ji Hanjong's bloodshot eyes stared ahead as if mountains were collapsing before him, unable to catch a single word. There seemed to be the rustling of a cat in the bushes. I glanced over and, ignoring Ji Hanjong's pained expression, hurriedly left. That night, I didn't know when Pei Ziying returned, because I had already fallen fast asleep. When I woke up, my wedding dress and phoenix crown had been removed, and the brocade quilt was tucked tightly around me. Pei Ziying lay beside me on the pillow, breathing evenly. I suddenly felt a bit ashamed. if it hadn't been for Ji Hanjong disturbing my thoughts, we would have had a wonderful wedding night, my lady. You're awake. Pei Ziying pulled me close and sleepily planted a kiss on my lips. He didn't ask a single word about why I had gone to bed so early. A heavy snow had fallen over Bianjing. Leaving the prince's mansion blanketed in white, on the first day, the new bride must kneel and serve tea to her parents-in-law. The princess consort, concerned that I was tired from last night, called me to rise as soon as my knees touched the ground, and even gifted me a pearl-embroidered robe as a welcoming present. This marriage has also reached the ears of the heavens. You should first go to the palace to pay respects to His Majesty. The snow fell even heavier, turning the vermilion walls and emerald tiles into a glazed box adorned with sparkling white snow. The emperor kept Pei Ziying for a conversation, so I went ahead to pay respects to the Empress Dowager. The Empress Dowager asked me many questions and nodded with satisfaction. Seeing you married to a good husband brings peace to my heart and your mother's. However, the fourth princess still worries me. Isn't Xiao Yuzhen about to marry Ji Hanjong soon? I looked puzzled. You probably don't know this, but Minister Ji got drunk and somehow ended up arguing with the fourth princess when he returned to the palace. The fourth princess has a stubborn temper. She grabbed an inkstone and hit Minister Ji with it, drawing blood immediately. It was terrifying, really. In my past life, Ji Hanjong and I never had a single quarrel, so it turns out he likes someone with a fiery temper like Xiao Yuzhen. In the evening, as I was leaving the Empress Dowager's palace, I suddenly noticed the palace maids gathered in the backyard, watching something. Look, this snowman is so beautifully made. Yes, with those shiny black eyes and bright red lips, the young master is truly skilled. Curious, I stepped down the stairs and squeezed into the crowd, where I indeed saw a snowman. Pei Ziying stood to the side with his arms crossed. His long lashes adorned with glistening snowflakes. He gave me a radiant smile, specially built for my lady. Do you like it? The onlooking palace servants all started cheering. I told you, the snowman is so beautiful, just like the princess consort. It must have been made for her. Young master is truly romantic. The young mistress is so fortunate. My face flushed crimson with embarrassment as I walked towards Pei Ziying, taking his hand, only to find it frozen red with cold. Why didn't you wear your leather gloves? Heart aching, I brought his hands to my lips, breathing warm air onto them one puff after another. The maid brought the hand warmer. Pei Ziying gazed into my eyes, a sweet smile playing at the corners of his lips. Because I like it when my wife keeps me warm. His lips drew slightly closer, almost brushing against the space between my eyebrows. The palace maids covered their mouths in envy. My face is truly too thin, and I didn't want to be so intimate in front of outsiders, so I quickly pulled him away. A loud bang echoed from the palace gate, followed by the startled cries of the palace maids. Minister Ji, what happened to you? The snow on the steps was already swept clean and even salted. You've always been steady and composed. How could you take such a heavy fall? I turned my head in puzzlement, only to have my view blocked by Pei Ziying. He scooped me up in his arms and carried me into the carriage. My dear, I'm truly freezing. Let's hurry back to the manor. Early the next morning, I accompanied the prince and princess to bid farewell to Pei Ziying as he embarked on his journey. The emperor had kept Pei Ziying behind to speak with him because the border war was urgent, and the Prince of Ruyang's leg pain made it difficult for him to travel, so Pei Ziying needed to go and guard the frontier. Held in his arms, I blushed and whispered softly, "You must come back soon. We haven't even consummated our marriage yet." Pei Ziying gently touched my cheek, his palm cold. "Don't worry, I can't let you become a widow while still a virgin." I couldn't help but spit at him, telling him to stop talking nonsense. Indeed, in his previous life, Pei Ziying was invincible in every battle he fought. Those barbarians were no match for him. If it's just barbarians, then I can rest easy. Watching Pei Ziying walk away, I exhaled a puff of white breath into the biting cold wind. The next moment, a carriage stopped right in front of me. The curtain was lifted, revealing the ninth princess. Her face was full of mockery. "I really admire you. You don't even know when disaster is at hand." I glared at her, warning her to watch her mouth. "Don't you know?" Fourth sister overheard Father Emperor and the Crown Prince's conversation. "It's not about urgent border warfare at all. It's actually about bandits causing trouble at Blackwind Mountain. Father Emperor ordered the Crown Prince to go suppress them." What's going on? Pei Ziying was lying to me. He wasn't going to guard the pass at all, but to suppress bandits. My heart skipped a beat, and my breathing lost its rhythm. The ninth princess burst into laughter. "Oh dear, it seems the young master has fooled you. Silly girl, our dynasty is flourishing in power, and although a few insignificant neighboring states occasionally encroach upon us, they are merely small fry, not worth fearing. However, the bandits entrenched in the Blackwind Mountain area are far more formidable than the backward and ignorant barbarians. They are fierce, brave, cruel, and vicious, even capable of obtaining advanced gunpowder, once becoming a serious threat to both local authorities and the imperial court. A string of unease is taut in my heart, and in the previous life, Pei Ziying lost an arm unexpectedly while suppressing bandits, rendering him unable to return to the battlefield. He then vanished without a trace after returning to Jiangju. He was such a proud young man, I absolutely cannot let him lose his fighting spirit and hope, sinking to such a miserable state. What else did you find out from Xiao Yuzhen's mouth? The ninth princess noticed my grim expression and said, more, well, Minister Jiyu also volunteered to go to Blackwind Mountain. Your new flame and old love are about to fall into the hands of those bandits. I've heard they even eat human flesh. Just wait and see you cry your eyes out. I could no longer contain myself and slapped her across the face. You dare hit me. I dare to kick you too. With one kick, I sent the snarling ninth princess tumbling out of the carriage. I rode off on horseback, charging through the city gates as snowflakes drifted down from the sky. The carriage traveled for 5 days and 5 nights. Finally arriving at the foot of Blackwind Mountain, I changed into men's clothing, thirsty and exhausted along the way, and found an inn to rest temporarily. Waiter, bring me a bowl of beef noodles. Slurping the noodles, I listened attentively to the idle chatter of passers-by. Someone nearby said that the bandits from Blackwind Mountain recently slaughtered 2 villages. Men were butchered for meat, and women were taken as sex slaves. It was utterly horrifying. Another person joyfully added that the Prince of Ruyang's son had already led troops to suppress the bandits, and Blackwind Mountain would finally see peace. At this moment, even more voices chimed in with pessimism. Blackwind Mountain's terrain is treacherous, riddled with caves. When the soldiers arrive, the bandits just play hide-and-seek with them, vanishing without a trace. So what if he's the heir apparent? Even if he brought celestial troops, they'd be no match for those cunning fox-like bandits. I choked slightly, slurped up the last bit of noodle soup, and returned to the side chamber. It's fine, Pei Ziying will definitely be alright. I comforted myself and drifted into sleep. The night was cool as water. In the haze between sleep and wakefulness, someone caressed my earlobe. I abruptly opened my eyes and swiftly drew the dagger hidden beneath my pillow. Before the blade could be drawn, my wrist was pinned above my head. My eyes widened in shock. Jiyu Hanzhong stared at me intently. A scar still marked his forehead. How can you still be using such foolish self-defense methods? Jiyu Hanzhong released his grip and wiped away the tear stains at the corner of my eye. I snapped out of my daze and suddenly remembered the ninth princess's words, urgently grabbing hold of his sleeve. Are you also here on orders to suppress the bandits? How's the situation? Is Pei Ziying alright? Does he still have his hand? Jiyu Hanzhong's Adam's apple bobbed as he leaned forward, suddenly pinning me down on the bed. I was startled. A tinge of red crept into the depths of Jiyu Hanzhong's eyes. Why do you always care about him, yet never spare a thought for me? I blinked my eyes, remaining silent, but this silence was like a sharp blade, piercing his already battered heart even more painfully. Alright. Tomorrow at 9:15 in the morning, meet me halfway up Blackwind Mountain. He walked to the door, the moonlight casting on his brows and eyes, brewing an indescribable emotion. I'll make you see your own feelings clearly. I didn't understand what Jiyu Hanzhong's words really meant, but I still arrived on time at the mountainside of Blackwind Mountain. The moment my feet touched the ground, I caught a strong whiff of blood. It was utterly nauseating. I leaned against the tree trunk, vomiting for a while, then slowly raised my head and saw the towering city gate. Its walls hung with 2 bloody human skins. This must be the handiwork of the bandits. My heart pounded wildly, and my throat tightened, when I took a few more steps forward and saw the scene atop the city gate. I nearly lost my mind. Well, little lady, you've got quite the nerve. Even the Imperial soldiers steer clear of us Blackwind Mountain bandits. Yet you dare to step forward. On the city gate tower stood 4 or 5 masked bandits. Somehow, they had captured Jiyu Hanzhong and Pei Ziying, pressing long blades against their necks. Both men had been tortured, their bodies covered in wounds. Pei Ziying's eyes were so caked with blood clots that he couldn't open them. Jiyu Hanzhong's body was a mass of crimson, too horrifying to look at directly. Outwardly, I remained perfectly still, appearing utterly composed, but in truth, half of my body had gone numb. One is the Vice Minister of Revenue, the other is the heir to the Ruyang Prince's estate. If either of them suffers so much as a scratch, I imagine His Majesty's wrath would ensure your entire clan gets to play the 9 familial exterminations game immediately. The bandit laughed wildly. Little lady, we've interrogated them thoroughly. This Mr. Jiyu and this Mr. Pei, both are your old flames, aren't they? He asked with a sinister tone. Let's play a game. You choose one of the two, the one you pick, I'll return to you unharmed. the one you don't choose. I'll skin him alive before giving him back to you. What kind of choice is this? My fingers trembled imperceptibly. My anxious gaze darted between the two men. One was my husband from my past life. The other is my husband in this life. At this moment, Pei Ziying struggled to open his eyes and gave me a faint smile. I was utterly horrified. I choose Jiyu Hanzhong. Jiyu Hanzhong's eyes lit up, a delighted smile curling at the corners of his lips. The bandit swiftly cut the rope binding Jiyu Hanzhong. The moment he broke free, a fierce glint flashed in my eyes. Because my husband and I will personally send you all to hell, I pulled out the hidden thunder bomb from beneath my skirt, struck a match, and hurled it onto the city tower. Isn't it just gunpowder? If you can get it, why can't I, as the daughter of General Lu and the daughter-in-law of the Prince of Ruyang? With several violent screams, the bandits standing at the front were blown apart, their flesh torn open, and they fell from the city wall. Well done, truly worthy of being my wife. Pei Ziying flashed a brilliant smile, effortlessly snapped the ropes, seized the long blade, and with a single stroke, slit one throat after another. Countless sparks erupted, milky white smoke mingling with blood droplets like rain, obscuring my vision. There was no time to ascertain how far Pei Ziying's killing spree had reached. I could hold on no longer. Darkness engulfed my sight as I fainted. I don't know how long it had been when I drowsily fell into a dream. It seemed as though I could hear Pei Ziying and Jiyu Hanzhong speaking. Minister Jiyu, you've seen the results of the bitter flesh scheme you devised yourself. Jiyu Hanzhong's expression was displeased, yet he continued to hold his ground. You saw it, Jin Zhao chose me. Pei Ziying was genuinely amused by him. Brother Jiyu, oh brother Jiyu, you heard her call me husband and vow to live and die with me. Why must you persist so stubbornly? Don't you think your presence between us is more glaring than that oil lamp? Seeing Jiyu Hanzhong's tightly pressed lips, he deliberately sighed again. Minister Jiyu, your marriage with the fourth princess hasn't been called off yet. Why harm two innocent women? Take my advice and let go. Or you'll personally experience my notorious reputation in Jiangju. After that, I never heard Jiyu Hanzhong's voice again. Opening my eyes, a vibrant red hue peeked through the window. It turned out the weeping peach blossoms of Ruyang Prince's residence had bloomed. I rubbed my drowsy eyes, my fingertips brushing against a head. Are you awake? Pei Ziying was even more groggy than I was, leaning in to kiss my lips. The joy of surviving a disaster filled my chest. I could no longer control myself and embraced him, returning the kiss. As our lips and tongues entwined, Pei Ziying froze for a moment before suddenly tightening his grip, as if trying to meld me into his very bones. Breathing heavily, he traced his thumb over my lips, reddened from the kiss. My lady, how could you be so passionate? The bitterness in my heart finally eased. It's nothing. I was just too afraid of losing you. The bandit suppression at Haifeng Mountain went smoothly. Pei Ziying acted decisively in battle, coordinating with Jiyu Hanzhong's strategies, leaving no bandit alive. To console the people, Pei Ziying even executed several of the leaders by sky lantern punishment, because the wedding night of Jiyu Hanzhong and Xiao Yuzhen was not a happy one. Actually, I knew it was the ninth princess who, after seeing me and Jiyu Hanzhong in a tussle at the wedding banquet, reported it to Xiao Yuzhen. I was also aware that it was Xiao Yuzhen who had the ninth princess provoke me, luring me to Blackwind Mountain, but these petty conflicts no longer mattered to me, because the wedding night of Jiyu Hanzhong and Xiao Yuzhen was far from pleasant. The couple clashed again, and Xiao Yuzhen was so furious that she vomited a mouthful of blood. The Empress Dowager was enraged and severely punished Jiyu Hanzhong, ordering him to kneel at the palace gate all night to beg for the fourth princess's forgiveness. After kneeling, Jiyu Hanzhong limped to the emperor's presence and requested to be sent to Lingnan as an official. He no longer wished to stay in the capital. Despite the emperor's repeated attempts to persuade him, he ultimately relented and granted permission. Perhaps in this lifetime, Jiyu Hanzhong would never become the chief grand counselor again. On the day Jiyu Hanzhong departed for Lingnan, he sent me a letter through a messenger. He hoped to see me one last time. I didn't even open the envelope. Throwing it directly into the fireplace, the flames instantly devoured Jiyu Hanzhong's beautiful handwriting completely. Jiyu Hanzhong waited 6 hours without seeing me and, urged by his colleagues, left filled with sorrow. And I have more important things to do. As night fell, a pair of dragon and phoenix candles were lit again in the bedroom. The moment Pei Ziying entered the room, his eyes were fixed in astonishment. What is this? This pearl robe was gifted to me by the princess consort. I'm not sure if wearing it like this is proper. Hundreds of pearls woven into this garment hang upon my body, each one shimmering with luster, yet concealing nothing at all. Candlelight ripples, illuminating my snow-white skin, translucent as jade, like a bowl of steamed milk custard, awaiting the diner's taste. Pei Ziying could barely control his breathing. Absolutely right. Outside, the peach blossoms are in full bloom. Inside, red quilts are tossed like waves, mandarin ducks entwine their necks, tender petals and delicate fragrances are freely gathered by butterflies. Another year of splendid spring scenery.